What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and our 2023 college football predictions continue for the 2023 college football season. Up next are the Louisville Cardinals, a team coming off a decent season last year. They went 8-5 overall in 2022. A new era, though, for this Louisville team. You look at this team, my thoughts on them, I think they're going to be pretty good. However, they brought in some guys that, haven't had experience at Louisville, though. They got a new head coach this year, Jeff Brom. He's coming over from Purdue, so he's coming, home where he was a quarterback for Louisville, so that's the good news there. But you do got a new coaching staff and everything, but Louisville brought a lot of guys in the transfer portal. It's hard to tell how good this team will be this year, but I think they're going to be pretty good. You look at their schedule this year, they'll play Murray State. They'll also play Notre Dame and Kentucky in the non-conference. And they play Kentucky every single year. That's a rival game. And then you also got Indiana in a neutral site venue. And the thing about this schedule is they do have to play 2 neutral site games on their schedule this year. But they do play Georgia Tech in Atlanta. They also play Indiana in Indianapolis. So, yeah, the schedule overall, not really too tough. You don't have to play Clemson. You don't have to play Florida State or North Carolina. And, if you saw my easiest schedule videos a long time ago, this was my easiest schedule pick. Louisville has the easiest schedule in all of college football, but there are some really good teams on the schedule. But let's go game by game now and give you an official prediction here for this Louisville team and give you their record for the upcoming 2023 season. So they start things off here on Labor Day weekend. This game is on a Friday night. It's Georgia Tech here at Atlanta. Basically a home game, though, for Georgia Tech. It's in Atlanta anyway. So, but Louisville, I think Louisville fans will pretty much show up in this one. Georgia Tech, though, is a team that made progress last year, and you got to, look at this Georgia Tech team a little bit more. I think they are going to be a little bit better than they were last year, and this is a tough one for me. Louisville does have a first-year head coach and everything, but I think he's got experience enough to where they can compete in this game. But let's be honest. When it comes to these neutral site games, I usually go with, the more experienced team in this one, who has the most returning production percentage in the game and everything. And it belonged to the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech. So with that being said, I'm going with Georgia Tech here in a close matchup here over the Louisville Cardinals. I think they give Louisville their first loss of the season to start out 2023. So that puts Louisville at 0-1 to start out the year, but then they'll take care of business against Murray State. Then they're back on the road to play Indiana here at Indianapolis. This is another neutral site game on September 16th. And yes, I'm pretty interesting to see what Louisville does in 2 neutral site games against a non-conference team like Indiana. I think this will be a pretty good matchup here. I wish this was a game that was played every year between the Cardinals and the Hoosiers. You look at Indiana in the last couple years, they have not been that good, but they do have a lot of production coming back this year, which tells me I think they're going to be a lot better than they were last year. But this is a tough one for me. It's like I said, when it comes to these neutral site games, it came down to the most returning production percentage. And with that being said, Indiana does have that experience, and I think Indiana does win a close game here over the Cardinals, and that puts Louisville's record at 1-2. So yeah, I got Louisville losing both of those neutral site games, but when it comes to those neutral site games, those are tough ones to predict. So I got them losing to Georgia Tech and Indiana, both in Atlanta and Indianapolis. So that puts Louisville's record at 1-2. Then it's Boston College at home after that on September 23rd. This won't be an easy game here for the Cardinals. Boston College has a lot of production coming back this year. I think this Boston College team is definitely probably going to go to a bowl game this year. They do have a nice schedule ahead of them. This game is probably going to go back and forth. I think it's a shootout-type ball game. With all the transfers coming in for Louisville, it's hard to tell how good the defense is going to be for the Cardinals as well. I think Boston College will keep this game close throughout the 4 quarters here. And I think Louisville, though, with them being at home and obviously a coin flip type game for me, I'm going with the Cardinals here to knock off Boston College, and that puts their record at 2-2. NC State on the road next year on September 29th. This game will also be on a Friday, so they do have 2 Friday night games here on their schedule. NC State, though, this will be a tough one here. It's on the road anyway. It's going to be a tough place to play, but I think this game is really going to be close. I think it will be a back-and-forth game. Devin Leary obviously gone at NC State. I mean, we don't really think that NC State's going to be all that good this year, but I think this is still a decent NC State team. I think the Wolfpack are still going to be really good enough to where they can make it to a bowl game, but not definitely to the ACC championship. So, but I think Louisville, they'll compete in all this game into the fourth quarter, but end of the day, home field advantage does belong to the Wolfpack in this one. And with that being said, I think NC State gets the close win here over Louisville, and that puts Louisville's record at 2-3. Then it's Notre Dame at home, October the 7th of next week. This is a big one here between the Irish and the Cardinals. Notre Dame's got, a talented team. I know they have a talented team with Sam Hartman coming over, the transfer from Wake Forest, but I think this team, I think Louisville's going to compete in this game. I think they are desperate for a win at this point, and plus it's kind of one of those upset alert type games where Notre Dame's probably not going to have their best game. Plus Louisville has the home crowd behind them. I know it's not a big stadium to play at, but I think the home crowd is going to help them in this game. Now, Notre Dame, if you saw my prediction a long time ago, I did predict Louisville to upset Notre Dame, and I think I'm still going to go with that pick here. I think Louisville upsets Notre Dame here on October the 7th. I know Notre Dame fans won't like that pick, but I think Louisville does beat Notre Dame here. This is one of those upset alert type games, and that puts Louisville's record at 3-3. Pittsburgh on the road next year on October 14th. Pittsburgh, I think it's going to take a step back year this year. However, this game is on the road. I think it's kind of similar to the NC State game. It's kind of a tough one here to call for me. I think the Pittsburgh Panthers are still a pretty talented team. Even though with all that production that they lost last year at the wide receiver position, I think they still got plenty of weapons on both sides of the football. And with that being said, I think Pittsburgh gets the close win here over Louisville, and that puts Louisville's record now at 3-4. I think Louisville kind of over too hyped after that Notre Dame win. Won't be focused for the Pittsburgh game the next week, so I think they lose that one. Then they'll get a bye week here, and it comes at a pretty good time. They'll play Duke here at home on October 28th. An experienced Duke team coming into 2023, definitely a top 25 team as well. I think this team is going to be definitely pretty good enough to where they can be a top 25 team, and this is one of those shootout-type ball games. This game is going to go either way. I think it's kind of similar to the Boston College game, NC State game, and Pittsburgh game. It will be going into the fourth quarter. I think Duke, though, they have experience in this game, but home field advantage does favor the difference here in this one for the Cardinals. This one's a tough one for me. I'm going with Louisville here to knock off Duke here at home, and that puts Louisville's record at 4-4. Then they get to the month of November. They'll play Virginia Tech next year on November 4th. A Virginia Tech team I don't expect to be all that good this year. Virginia Tech had a really terrible season last year, and it's just hard to tell how good this Virginia Tech team will be this year after that really tough season last year. So with that being said, I think Louisville gets the win here pretty easily over Virginia Tech. Then they'll play Virginia after that on November 11th, so you got back-to-back weeks here that are pretty much going to be easy games here for Louisville. I think they take care of business against Virginia. I really don't see the Cavaliers being all that good. They lost a lot of talent from last year, plus their starting quarterback that entered the transfer portal. So I think Louisville gets an easy win here over Virginia on November 11th, and I got Louisville now improving to 6-4. They make it to a bowl game after those 3 wins in a row. Then it's Miami on the road next year on November 18th. A Miami team that's going to be pretty much improved, I think, on both sides of the football. Tyler Van Dyke's back at quarterback. I think he's going to be really better than he was last year. Obviously, he got injured, but I think Miami is going to have a big advantage here in this one. Plus, it's a home game for Miami. It's a road game for Louisville. I just don't see Louisville going on the road and defeating Miami. I think it will be a close, in the first half. I think Miami will pull away in the second half. So I think Louisville does lose that one on the road at Miami, and that puts their record at 6-5. Then it's Kentucky here in the Governor's Cup to end things out on November 25th. One of my favorite rival games in all of college football. I really have a passion for this rivalry as well. And, it's a tough one for me to predict every single year. Now, last year I picked Kentucky to win pretty easily. This year I think it's going to be a closer game. Louisville, obviously, with all the transfers they have coming in, they're probably better by this time. But, Kentucky, the overall talent that they have on their program, it's just really hard to pick against Kentucky. Kentucky's going to have a great offensive line. They're going to move the football. They're going to want to run the football as well. Devin Leary, I think, also helps out that experience. I think, with Devin Leary, he's got some experience against this Cardinals team and everything. This one's a tough one, but, it's usually a coin flip type game. But, I think Kentucky is the better team in this one. I think Kentucky also comes in as the favorite in this one because they have beaten Louisville now in the last few years, and it's been a while. So I'm going to go with Kentucky here to knock off Louisville here at home, and that puts Louisville's record finishing with an overall record at 6-6 for 2023. I know this schedule is pretty easy enough for Louisville to maybe go 8-4. They could probably win those neutral site games against Georgia Tech and Indiana, but I think, those are tough ones to call. Georgia Tech, I think, is going to be a lot better than they were last year, and Indiana, I think, is going to be more competitive than they were last year. But, don't sleep on that Notre Dame game. I think this team could probably go 5-7. I don't think it would be a disappointment if this team went 5-7. It really wouldn't shock me because Jeff Brom is a first-year head coach and everything. So that's my prediction for the Louisville Cardinals for 2023. Give me your thoughts about this Louisville team down in the comments below. What do you think their record is in 2023? And stay tuned here for more sports content videos on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.